Hello everyone, Philip from Blackbull Markets here. We're starting something new now, so we're doing a pre-NFP analysis. So we'll be doing this on the Friday before every NFP. So hopefully you guys do enjoy these videos. We'll be analyzing mainly US charts or all the charts that are going to be affected by NFP. So as you know, NFP is the non-farm payroll for America, which will again affect the American economy. So we would see some US deep pairs move in there. So we'll start off straight into it. So the first pair we will be looking at will be Aussie USD. Keep in mind during this as well, you can see Japanese yen move as well, because it is a safe haven for people to use if something bad happens in the US as well, or pretty much in any country. It is a nice safe haven. So moving on to our first one, we'll be looking at our AUD USD. So currently we have this sort of a triple bottom here. This is the daily time frame, so you can see we have our sort of wicks down here. It has created a bit of a support. And what we can see is now we did reject it with pushing it to the upside, and now we kind of came to a halt on this rejection of this resistance we had here around the 0.67459 mark I've got over here. You can see these candles are rejecting, again moving down to the lower time frame. We can see here these bases are also pushing down, so we could see a bit of consolidation between these two zones until NFP does happen, pushing it to either to the up or to the downside. So if we push to the upside, we can see there is a nice clear path for us to go all the way up to where that gap was formed by what I've got here on our charts are the 0.68 mark, a nice round psychological level as well. You can see it offered some previous support resistance areas. Again, another support back over here and some resistance back here last year in August. So if that does push up, that could be a clean move. Now, keeping in mind with these sort of news events, you need to be very quick in your trading. It usually doesn't spark a big overall trend move, so it gives you that nice push and then tends to retrace and markets continue with its normal course. So make sure you do set your take profits and always do use your stop loss, especially during these events, because the market could whipsaw. What this is, the market spikes against one direction and pushes back up again, or vice versa. So make sure you do use those stop losses and your take profits. So don't be too greedy with these trades. Well, don't be greedy at all with any trades. Take what the market gives you and then move on. So moving on to our next pair is our Euro USD. Another pair. The thing about Euro USD is we also need to keep in mind this pair has got a lot of volume in it. So you can see with all these wicks, people are trading a lot, especially newbies tend to trade Euro USD a lot. So we do see a lot of uncertainty in these moves. It doesn't move as clean as the other pairs. So just do keep that one, that one in mind. This one is the daily time frame we're looking at. Again, we are seeing a nice sort of support that was formed here. We did break past it, so we could possibly see a retest of the zone to push further down prior to NFP. What we can see here is we do have another support. What I've got here on my charts is the 1.09550 mark, a nice psychological level again. You can see it offered previous support. We can see some wicks rejecting here, a bit of a resistance here from these wicks. So we could see it push down there and then again consolidating here, but for the breakout to the downside, nice targets. Round about, where the bases of these candles are. What I've got here is 1.08956, so a nice target. To the upside, nice clean move. I'll start to look at possible rejections when it does come close to sort of these previous support / resistance areas. So nice move to the upside. Moving down to the lower time frames, we need to keep that in mind because it is a quick move. So ideally, targets to tidy this up a bit. Our target would be a nice to the upside, a target right on that level of the 1.10335 I've got here. And looking at the lower levels, we can't really see much. So we'll stick to our 4-hourly or daily rather target we have over here. Maybe we can pull this up to push into there for that first resistance support we need to break, and then push this back up for that possible target to the downside. So to the upside, we've got this target over here. To the downside, this target over here. So make sure, again, please, to use your risk management very wisely. What you can do as well, if the price does reach your target, you can pull your stop loss and take partial profits, which is very simple. I can actually quickly show you here. This is just a test account, so let me quickly show you how to do that. So for example, if we take a buy of 0.3, we can see the order has been placed there. Put your stop loss down to wherever. Open up your trading terminal, you can see your trade here. What we can do is actually right click on that trade, modify or delete order, and where we see this is we can go to market execution. You can see our lot size over there. Let's say you want to take half your profit, so you can enter that and then close and market. And now you can see we actually closed half the trade and we still have half running. So if you want to do that, play with a runner, let that go in, always pull that stop into break even after you've reached your take profit target. You are essentially playing a risk-free trade with the potential for the market to continue further. Now moving on to the next pair is what we have is GBP USD. So GBP USD has been in a bit of a consolidation. We can see a bit of Elliott wave over here. I won't mark it out too much. I'll just quickly use these sort of these lines to draw our waves. We've got our waves 1, waves 2, 3. So we had a nice sort of very sharp correction for wave 2. So although wave 4 was a zigzag as well, it was a bit less sharp to the sharp side. And we can see our internal waves to complete our wave 5 as well. So we've got our waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to complete that 5th wave. Very nice count. And then we're starting with our correction. So what we have is a possible waves A, wave B, and hopefully wave C. So possible targets for your correction of your Elliott wave, your final sequence, is it does come down to the low of the previous 4th wave. So that could be a good target. Now moving to the NFP, we'll quickly get rid of all this so I can sort of have more of a sort of lower time frame trade. So we'll move to our 1 hourly, just to keep in mind we are in a very bad consolidation, so let's quickly draw our lines first. We are currently sitting on this very strong support that was played out as a previous resistance. So moving down to the hourly, we can see it is hesitating there. It has sort of broken it. We could now possibly see this starting to slowly push down, or what we could see is we could see a strong break and then retest of this lower time frame resistance and then continue to push down. So for NFP, possible targets we need to keep in mind is this section over here. So this is a very nice big range to the downside. To tidy up a bit, we'll use these bases of the candles and also this resistance we had over here. So push it up a bit just to get a bit tidy and more realistic. To the upside, what we can see is we do have this sort of section over here, which is a nice, very strong support. You can see candle bases, wicks rejecting, again wicks rejecting. So that's quite a nice area to look for. So on the 4 hourly time frame, what we can see is we can see possible pushes to either one of these areas. Nice profit take profits targets, which would be nice, depending on again what NFP happens. So we'll just need to keep that in mind. Now, just another reminder, if you guys were looking to use buy stops or sell stops, be very careful with this because it is a low. People tend to close orders just before this happens, and there tends to be not as much volume. So you could get slipped during these high impact news events because people tend to be scared and take those orders out, so there won't be enough liquidity for that trade. So just be wary of that. Trading with any ECN broker, there is always that risk because you are exposed to the true market. So, but on the other hand, that is a good sign if there is slippage during these big events, because that does mean you are in fact with an ECN broker. So do keep these things in mind. Perhaps wait for the news event, wait for the initial spike, and you could potentially catch the rejection to the downside. So for example, if we have a push to the upside, strong push, and now you take that on that resistance, you could possibly enter a sell here and wait for the rejection coming back down to the zone for the market to continue its regular pace. So if you're new to trading NFP, rather sort of just watch it, get an understanding or feeling for what it does. Keep an eye on one pair. I quite like gold. We will be going through that later as well. So have a look at it, watch how it reacts, because you have that same group of people who trade the same chart. So if you, like I said, if you're new, have a watch, sit back, and just get an idea of how the market moves during these events. Now moving on to our next one is USD CAD. So USD CAD could be quite tricky because there is Canadian news coming out with the NFP usually, so that could cause a bit of interesting movement in the market. So just be wary of that. I tend to not use the USD CAD, but let's analyze it for the fact that it is in fact a USD pair. And people who would like to trade it during the NFP, I will take us through what we sort of have here. So very clear, very easy to spot. We have this very strong consolidation zone, nothing much happening here prior to NFP. So in my opinion, I would look to steer away from this until the news event does come out, until we get a bit of movement. You can see people could have gotten burnt here a lot, where they would take the trade at the break of that resistance and it just pulled back again. Similar here, we had a break, it pulled back again. Test, looks like a nice strong candle to the downside after that red candle over here, and again people could have gotten burnt in that. So be wary of this when this happens. Rather stay away from consolidating markets and wait for a proper break, like a candle confirmation that closes above that. So this again, NFP could push it above or be below these areas. So nice take profit targets for this is just here on this resistance we had. I've got here 1.32467, which is roughly about 20 pips away. So it's a nice target to look to. To the higher times frames, what we can see, or to the upside rather, we can see we are actually at a very strong resistance that we have reached. So perhaps there's not much coming. If it does break to the top quite high, this could be another area to look for. Not as big, I would say, again, 20 to 30 pips, which is actually not too bad. If it does spark and the move to continue to the upside, because this does look quite corrective, we could possibly having our waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and now pushing for wave 5. Nice target could be roughly around here. We need to keep all these in mind over here, these previous support / resistance areas. So that could be a nice target. Rather, a lot of people would tend to put their take profit targets up here, which kind of takes away, or they tend to ignore these previous areas that could be a conflict for the market to move against. So we can see a wick touched here. We had that candle open and close here, wick rejection on the same zone, another wick rejection, support, we had resistance. So I would say be a bit more realistic in it and pull your take profits a little bit further down to areas that could cause a bit of rejection in the market. So we'll remove. So we've got two potential nice moves to the upside for USD CAD. We can see here to the downside, we have got this one. There's a lot of traffic to the left if we do even break this support, so keep that in mind. To the upside, we have two targets, possibly the first one being 1.3342, and the next one being 1.338, which is a nice big psychological level. So that could be a nice area for the market to push to. Next one, we'll be looking at USD Swiss franc. Again, very similar structure we have here. We are at this sort of resistance area. We can see the market is starting to slow down. This is obviously for anticipation into NFP. It looks like we're almost following into a nice sort of channel, actually rather a wedge, looking at it now. So we could see a break of this wedge, which could be a nice move. So probably during NFP we could see a consolidate between these two lines, and then maybe break up to the upside, to the downside, depending. So the nice thing about this is if it does break to the upside, there is a nice clean sort of chart to the no traffic at all to your left. To the downside, what we need to keep in mind, I always say this in our trade with 60 seconds video, when we do look at these sort of trades, we have always internal support / resistance areas. So this could always cause a big issue. So obviously with NFP we can push down past this to the start of this pattern, which usually does happen. So this could be possible in nice areas for you to pull in your stop loss as you, like a sort of a manual trailing stop, to just to secure more pips every time, which is always a good idea. And then ultimately a nice target over here would be good as well. So a break of this trend line to remove all this for you. So break of this trade to the downside, we have targets. Actually, this could be a very strong support as well. So target 1, target 2, target 3. So obviously you need to manage this trade as well. These are just ideas. So if it does reach this over here, please do pull in your stop loss to secure that, especially during NFP or big news events. Like I say, they can always turn around and burn you quite badly if you don't manage it well, especially if you're new. Rather just watch it instead of trying to risk your hard-earned money for it. And then to the upside, we need to keep in mind that we have this resistance to break, and then if it does, nice push, clean move to the upside, and then start to look to securing those trades once it gets close here. Usually you can see during these events the market gives that nice strong push initially and it starts to slow down. Almost looks like it's struggling, so that's a time for you to know, okay, it's either going to spike to the upside. That's when you sort of enter that time in the market where you're unsure of what's going to happen. So if you don't know what's going to happen, rather close the trade and fight or live to fight another day. Now moving on to USD JPY, a nice pair. Like I said, Japanese yen is a safe haven, so that could be very good. If NFP is bad, then people could be pushing their funds to the Japanese yen. So this could push it into give us a really, really nice move. So a bit of Elliott wave in here. We have our waves 1, very messy wave 1. But nonetheless, waves 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. So this could indicate a drop to the downside. We can see wave 5 is sort of struggling quite a bit. So again, we have a very similar pattern to the previous USD Swiss franc forming here. We have that sort of wedge pattern to form, which could also indicate a push to the downside again. Now, similar targets to the previous one, we have that resistance on the inside. This one caused support, very strong support previously. Resistance, support again here with that wick rejection. And we probably will see a bit of, again, you can see support in previous history. So target number 1 to the downside, target number 2, roughly around this area. So this is more of a zone for us to push into. So you can sort of play it by ear with that. And then obviously to the upside, if it does break to the upside, we can see we're actually already at a very, very strong resistance, as we were similar to our USD Swiss franc. But in this case, if we push further higher, there is another resistance. So it is a nice move, 13 to 12 pips. So if you're a day trader or a scalper, that is a nice big move for you. I'm not too fond of the upside. So if it does break to the upside of this pair, this USD JPY, be quite cautious, because we do have a lot of resistance to the upside and to the downside, obviously, with this pattern being formed. So keep that in mind when you do trade this pair. Now moving on to our last one, which is gold. Tends to move the most during NFP. Again, a safe haven for America, or for pretty much for anyone really. If it goes bad, gold tends to push up. If it goes well, people tend to take their money out of gold and put it back into their other assets. So now let's see what we kind of have here. This is the 4-hourly time frame. We can kind of see this. We had a nice support forming here. We have our resistance right over here. So we could see a bit of consolidation in between these two marks until we see NFP. Now, we are stepping into the Asian session right now, which tends to move gold a bit, because people in China tend to quite like trading gold, but we can see it is quite quiet, not a lot of movement as we are looking at it right now. We had a bit of a gap to the downside, but really there is not a lot of movement. So this could indicate it's continued to consolidate in between these two zones until we see a break either to the up or to the downside. So what we can see here first is a nice resistance by the 1570.93 mark. Good clean move. That could be a quite nice one to push to. Nice 30-40 pip move, depending on where the candle closes, or if you're going to get a retest after that candle close. And then to the downside, we do have a little bit of a resistance here coming up where it was quite close. We can see this. So this is a bit of a zone we need to be concerned about. But if it does push below that, we can see we have a nice move over here. And again, further lower targets, we can see a market is starting to slow down. So this would be a realistic sort of target for us to go to. So nice couple of moves. Ideally, you can trade here if you want. So roughly about, again, 30 to target 250 pips, which is quite nice. So 30 to the upside, 30 to the downside. So have a look at that. So possible consolidation between here. So that's it for this video, covering all the USD pairs, some one JPY pair, and obviously the most important, gold for NFP. So hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please click that like button. Also click the subscribe button, followed by the bell icon to get notifications of all our new videos. Also, if you want to get in contact with us, please do so. Go to our website. You can go on the live chat. We'll be there waiting. If you want to contact us over the weekend, feel free to do so. You can email us at support@blackbullmarkets.com, and we'll be happy to help. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. From everyone here at Black Bull Markets, Safe trading.